All right, we've got based in here. Let me see. Is it based Alex? How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, it's BasedAlex. Like you can just call me Alex. I mean,
Right.
I
So
I I
Alex,
was I had to come up with the name. I came up with that.
fair enough. Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Yeah, I'm 38 and I'm a Christian.
Okay. And what's the best evidence or argument for the Christian God being real?
Yeah, so I was on Ian's live earlier, and I was talking to him. So I think something that, and he said that you and I have something in common. I'm not good at philosophy. I took like a semester of philosophy in college, and was like, this literally makes no sense to me. But the historical textual criticism, I do enjoy, and that's something that I like, and so, anyways, Ian was like, "You should talk to this guy," and I was like, "Okay, cool." So I'm here, and one of the things that I talked about to Ian was just Gary Habermas's like the minimal facts argument, and we had a discussion about it, but I wanted to get your take on Gary Habermas's minimal facts.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think he's a goof, and his research is never up to his advertising. He claims that he's got all these testimonials from other scholars. He doesn't. He claims that all scholars agree on his set of minimal facts. They don't. The reality is, I don't think personally don't take Gary Habermas seriously, and the reality is, like, we've got tons of other resurrection accounts from ancient Greece and Rome. Like, it's not like the resurrection of Jesus was somehow unique. There's a bunch of people that claim to resurrect. Some of them from quite a bit of witnesses. In fact, Herodotus records the resurrection of one Aristeus, as does Diodorus and Plutarch. We've got so many ancient people that resurrected. I don't know why I would believe specifically in just the Jesus one.
Okay. I mean, I know that there was a claim that Nero resurrected, so I'm aware of that claim. Which freaked the hell out of Christians and everything, which rightfully so. I mean, if you're being turned into Roman candles, I would definitely be freaked out as well.
I mean,
Um,
that's why he shows up in Revelation 13. Revelation 13 is clearly a reference to Nero, 666 in the Greek and
yes, I fully
6616.
fully agree with you.
So,
Fully agree with you. The number, the name, the letters in Nero match the numbers in, hence why 616 and 666 like match the letter. Like I think if I'm not mistaken, the letters in Greek match 616. The letters in Latin
so
match 666, but I'm not sure. I
the
may have
Greek
that
is
wrong.
all over the place. The Latin says 616 because the Latinized spelling of Nero's name is Nero Kaiser, the same way we pronounce it. It comes out to 616.
Okay.
The Greek is Neron Kaiser because it's got a nominal ending that Latin doesn't have, not the same one. And so when you do
Okay.
gematria on that, it comes out to 666. That being said, there is one manuscript, P115, that
Hmm.
says 616 even in the Greek, and there's an additional manuscript that says 606, which comes out to Gaius Kaiser, the nickname for Caligula, which was another
Okay.
Caesar that persecuted the Jewish people, and so and the Christians.
Well,
So
mostly the
mhm,
Christians.
I mean,
Um, he did
depends on.
persecute Jews. You are correct. He did persecute Jews.
I
I
mean, is
think,
there
if I'm
anybody
not
that
mistaken,
Caligula
did
didn't persecute?
well. That is true. I mean, he seems to be a pretty evil dude.
Yeah.
Um, but so when it comes
So,
to just
but my
when it comes
but
to
my
just
point but my point, Alex, and I don't wanna, derail your talking point, but, like, if Revelation 13 is supposed to be about how Nero is the Antichrist and that he revived from a mortal wound, this means, like, the predictions in Revelation were nonsense, they didn't come true.
mm, Revelation is a very interesting book to study. It's almost a direct. There's a. I mean, if that book was to be written now, you would accuse that book of straight up plagiarism from certain because of its almost direct quotations from the Old Testament in certain books. Like it would be
Uh,
accused of almost plagiarism immediately.
I'm not concerned about
So,
that, I'm concerned about the
well,
failed
no, no, no. I
prophecies.
know, but I mean, there's certain prophecies that I think have come true. I think a large portion of Revelation has come true already. I'm not a dispensationalist. I'm not a Zionist. I'm not any of those things. I would classify myself mostly as like amillennial. So Jesus is ruling on his throne from the moment that he went to heaven, and so he'll come when he
Yeah.
comes back. Like everything ends,
Yeah, what's the proof that
type of
Jesus
thing.
is on the throne?
The fact that he's been, I would go to Matthew like 28, the Great Commission, where he says, like, all authority on heaven and on earth has been
So
given to me.
the proof that he's on the throne is that a book says so?
I, I mean, I'm okay.
So
You can, yeah.
the
I'm
difference
gonna go to,
that we have here is, like, you're gonna say, "Well, this stuff in Revelation came true because other parts of the Bible says it will or it did come true." But I'm asking you, like, in reality, what is the evidence that any of it came true? Because when I read the book, it's full of failed predictions. Jesus said he was coming back within the lifetime of his disciples in Matthew 16, Matthew 10, and Matthew 24. And he just didn't do it. And the guy couldn't read the Hebrew Bible to save his life. He misquotes it, he adds to it. He only reads it in Greek. He has a fundamental misunderstanding of what prophecy even means. Like, the New Testament is just a goof. It's written by a bunch of people who didn't know a single thing about the Jewish religion.
I mean, okay. When it comes to the prophecy that Jesus would come back in the lifetime of the disciples, correct me if I'm wrong, but Matthew 24, that's the Olivet discourse, is it not?
It is, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so what I would argue there is Jesus is saying that within the lifetime of the disciples, um, this is going to happen. Like all of this
Mhm.
must be fulfilled before you die. He's not
Right.
necessarily saying I will return like when this happens. He's just saying all of this has to be fulfilled, and that's the destruction of the temple
No,
and
I
basically
mean,
the ending of the Jewish sacrificial system.
well, no, no, Jesus never said once about the end of the Jewish sacrificial system. Not a single thing ever left his mouth about that. That's something that comes after his death. But in Matthew 24, he talk about the suffering. It says, "Immediately after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." Did that happen?
I mean, according to Josephus, they definitely
Did
saw.
did all the tribes of the earth mourn when they saw Jesus riding on the clouds?
Mm, I don't know. I don't know how to. There's a
Oh,
lot of interpretation that could go there, but I mean, I'm
of
gonna
course
say
not.
we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that. But according to Josephus, when recording the destruction of the temple and the siege of
Mhm,
Jerusalem, they
mhm.
did see like angel figures like in the clouds, um,
Sure.
and stuff like
I
that. So
Yep. And Josephus has a really fanciful edition of 70 AD, and, that's great, but doesn't fix what Jesus said in Matthew 24, which is that the second coming, the Son of Man, as we read in Daniel chapter 7, is gonna happen within the lifetime of the disciples. In fact, he says it in 2 chapters later. In chapter 26, he tells the high priest that, "Henceforth you will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of glory," so on and so forth. So this is the judgment scene. Chapter 24, chapter 25, and chapter 26 are all about the judgment, Jesus coming back and judging. This is all one discourse. Chapter 24 doesn't end the discourse. It goes on into chapter 25. And he says,
you're
when
correct.
the Son of Man comes with the angels in the glory of his Father, he will bring all people to him and he's going to separate the sheep from the goats, right? This was all supposed to happen within the lifetime of his audience.
Okay. I mean, I don't have. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have any information on that. Uh, I don't. To be frank and honest, I don't think there's anything. I'm a Christian like through and through. Like I believe. Um, I don't know. You can say it's for comfort. You could say it's for whatever. Like I mean, to be frank and honest, I don't really care what you think. Why I believe. I believe, because I think it to be true. Like, I believe that Jesus Christ resurrected from the dead from on after being crucified on the cross. So like there's certain
But
thing, and then I see certain things in
why?
the Old Testament that confirm this.
But Jesus didn't fulfill a single messianic prophecy, not one.
He did fulfill a messianic prophecy.
I don't know of
He
any.
fulfilled
So,
several messianic
well,
prophecies.
my count's at 0. Which one did he fulfill?
Okay. Uh the one from Zechariah about riding on the colt. Like,
Oh,
behold,
no.
Israel, your king comes riding to you on the colt of a donkey.
Zechariah 9?
Yeah, did he not fulfill that one? I mean,
No. I
when
rode a donkey.
how
Did
did
I
he not
fulfill it?
fulfill that?
You know, it's Justin. It's crazy. I'm not super like I'm not a big student of history, but did Jesus cut off the war horse from Ephraim?
As it turns out, I don't believe he did. And verse 10 says he would. Says he will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the war horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off. And he shall command peace to the nations, and his dominion shall be from sea to sea, from the river to the ends of the earth. So it's an earthly kingdom after he defeats Israel's enemies. That's why it says, Here comes your king, triumphant and victorious. Well, yeah, he's triumphant and victorious because the motherfucker just defeated all of his enemies. So, like, Jesus didn't do that. Just because the dude rode a donkey, I mean, impressively rode 2 donkeys, according to Matthew, it doesn't mean he fulfilled his prophecy.
Okay. I mean, I then why does Matthew quote it, or why do several of the other
'Cause
gospel writers quote it when
the
they cite this
goof,
story?
because 'cause they're
Because they're a
goofballs.
goof.
Yeah, they're idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. A dude riding a donkey doesn't become a king because he's on a donkey, and he doesn't fulfill the prophecy of defeating enemies of Israel by riding the donkey. Again, listen, I've ridden a donkey. That doesn't make me the fulfillment of this prophecy.
Yeah, but you didn't have, like, you weren't going into Jerusalem
So what? You've already
with
decided that you don't
people.
have to you've already told me you don't have to fulfill all the points of the prophecy. You can fulfill just one point of the prophecy and fulfill it. So the fact that it's in Jerusalem is irrelevant. I fulfilled at least the part where I rode the donkey.
Okay, where you
Ride two animals at the same time, not just a donkey, to fulfill two different so-called prophecies.
what's that?
When am I
Jesus rode two different animals. One was a donkey. I forget what the other one was. Into Jerusalem to fulfill two different prophecies. It's almost like the guys writing book 2 knew about the prophecies in book 1 and tried to make them fulfilled.
Yeah, and not only
Okay.
that, I've got thousands of subjects. Put a K in the comments if I'm your king. We're gonna see a lot of K's in the
Hail
comments.
Justin.
Can we just have a whole day about none of those?
Yeah. So anyways, my point
Mostly
is,
joking.
He's only a spiritual king, so it doesn't count.
Oh, the temperature just dropped.
so my point is, like, Jesus didn't fulfill Zechariah 9. The prophecy is about a real, actual king on the actual earth that defeats Israel's enemies. So if he doesn't do that, he didn't fulfill the prophecy.
But he did defeat Israel's. He did, like, you're
No,
like, so a
no, he
lot of the
did
Jews,
not.
he did defeat but he defeated the greatest enemy.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. He defeated nothing.
He,
Satan
he
is still
so
roaring around like a lion, seeking who he may devour. He didn't do shit.
I would beg the, I mean, yes, but I would
I
also
know,
beg to
yes.
differ that he did defeat sin and death.
No, he didn't. It didn't need to be defeated. You don't have to defeat death. Yahweh already said he would resurrect the righteous. Nobody has to die for that. His death was silly. It accomplished nothing.
Well, okay,
Yahweh
now we get to
Yahweh
the
was Yahweh was already going to resurrect the righteous at the end, and nobody had to die for it.
yeah, but now we get to the proto gospel.
No, you don't get to the proto gospel.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because the proto-gospel, Genesis 3:15, clearly says that the seed of the woman will
Oh, no.
crush the head of the serpent.
Where do they get these bad talking points from? It's crazy to me.
It's wild. This is
Well,
literally, I was literally just debating this topic on my live like 30 minutes ago. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and I was just kind of wondering, the way I read that, it's supposed to be snakes biting humans, which means that the
Yeah.
authors of Genesis don't know anything about constrictors.
Yeah, so, like, the reality is Genesis is referring to the relationship between snakes and human beings. In fact, the entity here is definitely a snake and not Satan. It says, "The Lord God said to the woman, 'What is it that you have done?' The woman said to the serpent tricked me, and I ate. And the Lord God said to the serpent, 'Because you have done this, cursed are you among all animals and among wild creatures. On your belly you shall go.' Snakes crawl on their belly. Snakes are part of the animals. Snakes are wild creatures. Why would God punish all snakes if snakes didn't have a damn thing to do with the garden? If this was Satan doing it, what a weird thing that God would punish snakes and not Satan."
Uh, what is the word? So, what's the Hebrew word for snake?
Nachash.
Nakash?
That's right, nakash. Um, is the Hebrew word for snake there meant to give the not an idiom, I guess a metaphor for
No, it's
Satan,
just,
saying that he is cursed, that Satan is cursed,
No.
type of thing.
Nope. Just a snake.
No,
Does
yeah, it's
Satan
just,
crawl on
okay.
his belly?
yeah.
I mean I don't know. There could be a lot of poetry there, especially when you look at biblical poetry and the way that is that is spoken by God there. It could be there is some poetry into that in the way that it's written.
I don't find this to be poetic at all. This is just a story, other ancient Near Eastern stories about the relationship between snakes and human beings. In fact, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, we find something similar when he gets the plant of immortality from the sea of death and is sitting down by the shore. He has it snatched away, stolen from him by a wily snake. There's a bunch of like stereotypes in the ancient Near East of snakes kind of being the enemy of mankind, because they're tricky and they're slithery and you don't really see them coming. And so, what better enemy to put into the story other than what we already know from ancient Mesopotamia? Because the first 11 chapters of Genesis, almost everything in it is a mirror of Babylonian mythology. The first 11 chapters are just a playbook of them riffing on the Babylonians.
Some of it, you're correct. You are right. Some of it is that way. I mean, but it's not a direct copy of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
No, no, I'm not saying it's
Um,
a direct copy. What I'm saying is they're taking these mythologies of the Babylonians and they're reworking them, and they're saying, "No, here's how it really happened." It's like they're polemicizing the Babylonian mythologies, and that's fine. You can do that, but because I know that that is what they're doing, because I've read the Babylonian literature, then obviously the snake is just a snake. There's no Satan to be blamed here.
okay, and so then the crushing of the head and him striking the heel, what's the symbolism with that then? Because if
That's
that's
how you
not poetry, then
that's how you kill a
that
snake.
but why would he be
That's why ancient
like
people
if
are depicted as treading on the heads of snakes in the ancient world. 'Cause that's how you kill them. You
So,
stop on them.
Yeah.
so the
And
category of this text is what we call an etiology. It's just a story that's meant to give like a explanation for a certain phenomenon. So like, why do women have pain when they give birth? Why do men struggle when they reap from the field? Why do they sweat from by the sweat of their brow they work for their food? Why do we tread upon snakes? The whole purpose of the Genesis story is meant to serve as an etiology for all these different phenomenon.
hold on. Yeah.
And
So,
the first several chapters are, well, go ahead. I was just going to.
oh no, go on. Sorry, my wife just asked me to watch my daughter for a bit.
Go ahead and respond to Dalton.
So were you saying that it's like an idiom?
No.
An ideology.
What is an ideology? So is that ideology? Because I know what ideology means.
No. An ideology is just a story that's created in order to like give an explanation for like a certain condition or phenomenon within the world. Like, for example, why is it that the ancient Israelites don't eat a certain ligament from the hip bone? Well, you create a story about Jacob wrestling with an angel and he dislocates his hip, and that's why we do this. But in this case, it's giving an explanation for why humans are hostile towards snakes and why snakes are hostile towards humans.
Okay. All right.
And then if
Go ahead, Jim.
as you admitted, the first 11 chapters are all riffs on Babylonian stories, then how do we know that any of that actually sets up any of the preconditions for Jesus Christ and the New Testament?
Well, because Jesus believed him. Like Jesus clearly believed him. Jesus
So
clearly believed in
if
Adam and
Jesus
Eve.
believed in mythology, does that make the mythology true? And then that would be the Babylonian mythology, wouldn't it?
Well, no, because there's a clear difference. Like unless you're Billy, what's his face that debated Wes Huff. There's a clear difference between the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Genesis story.
We keep using the word riff and takes on and things like that. So nobody here is actually saying that it's word for word. But what I am saying is that if they copied in some way the stories from Babylon and Jesus believed them, does that mean that the Babylon pantheon exists?
Well, no, but don't all like mythology stories have like some truth to them? Like, can't we all agree that there's like a little bit of truth in like every mythology story? Like
No.
something was true in that mythology story, not all of it. So like a great example would be like the Iliad and
Do you think
the Battle of Troy.
Do you think the Hindu mythologies are true?
I don't really know a ton about the Hindu mythologies, to be frank and honest with you. So I can't speak on those.
Yeah, there's a
I don't think your
large.
answer actually got you out of the quandary I was asking. But if it's all mythology, isn't that just what Jesus is in the New Testament?
Well, no, because Jesus clearly seems to be different from every other like biblical prophet, biblical judge, all of that stuff. Jesus clearly
different in that he lies more.
Well, okay, different in the fact that he is able to forgive sins, but nobody else is able to forgive sins.
Yeah,
Different
that's
in
the
the fact
lie.
that he's able.
He's not able to forgive sins. He's a goof.
So now it just makes me wonder. So in Lewis's C.S. Lewis thing, liar myth or liar lunatic or Lord, you would say lunatic?
Yeah, he was a lunatic. He had a screw loose. He needs help.
There's a fourth option that you're not considering. Legend. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we can say.
I've heard that.
I don't think we can say with any high confidence that the things said about Jesus in the Gospels are necessarily telling us the truth about what Jesus said and did. At least not in large part.
Yeah.
And so didn't the Jewish folks have a right they could do to get God to forgive them for for them offending them, sacrifices and things like that? So why does Jesus need to do it?
Well, not only that, there's all sorts of forgiveness in the Hebrew Bible without sacrifices. Like you don't have to kill anything just to seek forgiveness. So, like even the New Testament nonsense, like Hebrews 9:22, when it says, "Without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness of sins," simply not true.
Yeah, because you can offer quarts of flour and stuff like that for sin offerings if you're too poor to be able to afford like any animals.
Or just be repentant. When David repents in 2 Samuel chapter 12, when he's confronted by the prophet Nathan, God forgives him on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that but that gets to the heart. That goes to like Exodus 34:6 and 7, which is what like this key focal point of like the entire Old Testament of the Bible, because it's God describing his character. And you clearly see God say, I will not forgive sin and iniquity. But then also, Lord says, I will not
Oh
leave the guilty
no.
unpunished, but then also says, like, I'm forgiving of sin and iniquity.
And finish it. Verse 7 says what?
Uh,
Says, surely I will not leave the guilty unpunished. I will
yeah,
visit the
surely I will
iniquity
not
of the
leave the
father upon the children and the
to the
children's
third
children
and
into the
fourth
third and fourth
generation.
generation, which, trust me, that does line up with God's character. He punishes innocent generations for the crimes of their father all the time. I don't think that's a good look for him. Do you
Okay.
think
I
that
mean,
it's
I
right
think
to
that
punish children for their parents' crimes?
I well, hold on, Jim.
Oh, Jim, you broke
S-
up on us.
yeah. So I would say that the way I view that, and I think a lot of biblical people would view that, is that not necessarily God saying, "Hey, I'm going to punish you for your father's like example, like sin of alcoholism," but I will uh, allow that sin to be a struggle for you to see if you're able to overcome it.
But the problem is he didn't say that, right? So what he says is that he's going to visit the iniquity upon the children. The iniquity is the sin or the guilt. He's going to visit that upon the children. Didn't say anything about addiction or like, genetic traits. They don't know anything about genes here. And we see God
Well,
doing
yeah,
that
but
in the Hebrew Bible. God punishes children and great grandchildren and great great grandchildren all the time for the crimes of their ancestors. So, like,
yeah, but I
didn't
mean,
you mention the
you're right. We
Amalekites?
do. Yes, I've definitely heard of the Amalekites. I'm fully aware of the Amalekites. Them attacking Israel as they came out of Egypt, and then God basically saying like, I will,
I will blot them out.
I will blot them out. He held a grudge.
And then he
Um,
did. How many years later was it when he blotted them out?
it wasn't until Esther.
It was well, I mean, the attempt was made in 1 Samuel under the reign of King Saul.
Yes, against King Agag, and then Haman, lo and
Mhm.
behold, is an Agite, which is a direct descendant of King Agag. So it wasn't until Haman was killed that they were fully blotted out.
I don't think they were fully blotted out, but that's neither here nor there. The problem is 400 years later, God says, "Okay, now I'm gonna punish them, people who didn't do the crime."
Well, he says the iniquity of the Amalekites is not yet complete. So they clearly seem to
Amorites.
have been, or Amorites. So they
That's
clearly
a
seem to be
that's a
getting
different
more and more.
that's a different passage. You're referring to Genesis 15 when God says he's sending the Israelites into Egypt and they'll be slaves there for 400 years because the iniquity of the Amorites have not yet been completed.
Okay, yeah,
So,
but
but that doesn't fix the problem. My point is the Amalekites are being punished for a crime that they didn't commit. It says in verse 2, I'll put it on the screen so you know I'm not lying to you. Thus
I
saith the
don't
Lord of
think that
hosts.
you. Hold on real quick. I don't think you're a liar. Like you've been good faith. I've been good faith.
Mhm.
I'm not coming at you with like really hostile. I hope you don't think I'm coming at you with
No,
really hostile energy. And
I don't,
so,
I don't think that you think I'm a liar. It's just that a lot of Christians do think that I'm a liar. So I always put the verse on the screen.
okay.
Okay. So it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I will punish the Amalekites for what they did in opposing the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt. So the punishment that's being handed down in 1 Samuel 15 is for what happened 400 years prior. But none of these people living did that thing. They just happen to be ancestors of the Amalekites. And he's murdered. He's having even the babies murdered. Why? Why would he do all that? If he hated the Amalekites so much, just prevent them from giving birth. Don't make the poor babies get born and then have to slaughter all the babies by the sword.
Um, yeah, I would just say that God's the author of life, and because He's the author of life, He's able to take life, and He is able to
Oh,
determine how He wants to take life.
oh, you don't wanna do divine command theory, do you?
I
Okay.
mean,
So
that
then if
would be
God
my argument.
I know you have to because you believe that this is true, so you have to do divine command theory. It's just it is what it is. So then if God tells Alex that you have to murder a baby because I'm judging them for what their parents did, it would be good to murder the baby.
Well, see, that's where I would say that if I'm claiming that God's talking to me, like some Christians I know, um, kind of kooky, or very charismatic, I would be like, no, the canon's closed, so
Well, I didn't ask
clearly
you
I'm
if you
not
would
supposed to
I didn't
not
ask you if
supposed to
you
do
would
that.
do it. I'm asking you, would it be right to obey God? If God showed up right now and said, "Alex, I have my reasons. I'm judging these people, and I need you to kill this baby," it would be right to kill the baby?
I would say no.
Oh,
Right now, if we're going based
so
off of
God would
right
be
now, if
wrong
we're going based
then.
off of well, if we're going
So
based off of right
is
now, I
it
would say
is it
no.
not within God's character to command you to kill a baby?
I mean, it is within his character, yes,
Okay, so then why would you say that it would be right to disobey him? Is it ever right to
because
disobey God? Isn't that the definition of sin?
well, yes, it is, but it's
Okay, so
presently that's not how he communicates anymore. He has revealed himself
that's
and
not in the
everything that
Bible
we
at
need to
all.
know in
The
Scripture.
the Bible does not say even for 1 second that God won't give future commands. In fact, quite the
Uh,
opposite.
Actually, I would say Hebrews 1:1 and 2.
No, it just does not say that God will cease to speak to human beings.
I
He
mean, it
killed
kind of
Ananias
says,
and Sapphira after Jesus already passed away. After Jesus already passed and resurrected, all that nonsense. He literally had Peter kill Ananias and Sapphira. So, like, we know that he's having people, taken out even after the whole new covenant nonsense is done.
okay, well, I will have to come back to you because I have to do some stuff with my wife, and we have some friends coming in to town tonight. So, doing some stuff there with getting the house ready. It's been good talking with you. It's
Yeah, thanks
really
for
been
coming by, Alex.
enjoyable. Yeah, no problem. I will be back. I followed you, so I will talk to you later.
Okay. Alright, cheers, friend.
Yeah, later.
Mm. I don't know if that's the conversation he wanted, but that's the conversation he got. At least he was nice about it.